Welcome to our 11th episode of Child Sexual Abuse Prevention by Zina podcast. I'm your host, Zina Poncel. Hey, everybody. Today's podcast is going to be split into two segments. Part 1 is dropping today, June the 13th, and Part 2 will be dropping next Thursday, June the 20th. The main subject of these two podcasts in regard to child sexual abuse is what some professionals may call child on child. And yes, it's just what you're probably thinking. This is where the alleged victim and the alleged perpetrator are both children. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you understand and learn the difference between a child being curious about another child's body and children sexually abusing each other. Yes, there is a difference. Part 1, which is today's podcast, is going to focus on normal childhood curiosity about little bodies. This information is a compilation of data from various different sources, which are mainly RAIN, Stop It Now, and Darkness to Light. I already have RAIN and Darkness to Light's links at the end of each of my podcast notes, and I've introduced them in previous podcasts. I will add the Stop It Now link as well. These are great resources. I highly encourage you to check out their websites. Also, remember in the past I spoke of children's advocacy centers? Some of the stats that you'll hear me talk about, mainly in Part 2 next week, are generated from data collected from all the CACs through the National Children Advocacy Center. Okay, let's get started. Normal childhood curiosity about bodies can manifest in various behaviors that are generally harmless and developmentally appropriate. These behaviors are often exploratory and mutual without coercion or harm. Here are some common examples. Developmentally appropriate exploration generally involves young children, typically under the age of 7, who may engage in behaviors such as showing or looking at each other's private parts, or asking questions about bodies and where babies come from. These behaviors are usually unplanned, mutual, where they both, or all the kids involved, there might be more than two, decided to explore. Next, there's lack of secrecy and shame. Curious behaviors are typically open and do not involve secrecy, shame, or guilt. Children may engage in such exploration out of genuine curiosity without understanding the sexual connotations. These cool little people have no idea that what they're doing is possibly questionable, fulfilling their curiosity. Finally, there's equal power dynamics. The children involved in curiosity-driven behaviors are usually of similar age, size, and developmental level. There is no significant power imbalance between them. Basically, one child is not forcing the other child to do anything. Let's talk about kids exploring their own bodies. Young children often touch or play with their own genitals. This behavior is a natural part of exploring their own bodies and usually happens in private or during activities like bathing or changing clothes. Many years ago, when I worked in the school system with 4-year-olds, some kids would be exploring their little bodies while on their own little kinder mat by themselves, not bothering anybody. So, if you get a call from your daycare worker or early elementary school teacher about your child touching themselves, please don't panic. You may need to have a gentle conversation with your child about not self-exploring at school. Just set some boundaries. Please do not punish them for this. Definitely ask if they are hurting or burning down there. They may have a little infection of some sort, which can be common with our little people who are learning how to clean their own bottoms after potty time. Many young children enjoy being naked and may run around without clothes on at home or during playtime. This is a normal part of becoming comfortable with their bodies. Keep in mind, these little people have had a diaper on the first 2 and maybe 3 years of their lives, except at diaper changing time or bath time. Some may like to, let's say, they just might like to be running around and feel kind of free. I'm sitting here giggling inside because I know of a precious 2-year-old little girl who is constantly taking off her diaper, which I know is an indicator of it's time to learn how to potty, on the potty, and has now learned how to take off her shirt. She is right on target developmentally. She's a little streaker, and yes, she is monitored very closely. Now, we're going to talk about kids exploring other kids' bodies. I know you've heard this one. Show me yours and I'll show you mine. You're smiling right now, aren't you? Oh yeah, I've heard that for a long time. This behavior involves children showing their genitals to each other. It's usually spontaneous and mutual, driven by curiosity rather than sexual intent. Playing doctor. Children might engage in games where they examine each other's bodies like doctors do, mimicking what they see at the doctor's office. This often includes looking at or touching each other's genitals, again, out of curiosity. Children might compare body parts, such as noticing differences between boys and girls. This comparison usually happens in settings where nudity is more common, like during bath times or changing clothes, or if you have that little streaker running around the house like I mentioned earlier. In role-playing games, such as playing house, children might pretend to be parents and engage in behaviors like kissing or hugging. These actions are typically innocent and reflect their understanding of adult relationships. I highly suggest parents keep their relationship behaviors, or PDA, in front of your children to a rated G level. I'm telling you, these little people will, I call them little parakeets at certain ages. They will copy everything you do. And often they'll copy everything you do on other kids. Hand-holding, gentle kiss of a significant other, hugs, things like that. Like I said, kids will copy your adult behavior. So, all you wonderful grown-ups out there listening, please, no making out on the couch in front of the kids. And keep your bedroom door locked when having relations. How do you address normal curiosity with your child? Through education. Teach children about their bodies using age-appropriate language. And a few podcast episodes back, I actually discussed this. And it was like when you have them in the bathtub, that's when a really good time to be discussing their body with them in certain boundaries. So back up and check those out. And you can explain concepts like private parts and again, personal boundaries to help them understand what behaviors are appropriate. Supervise all little people. Monitor children's play to ensure it remains appropriate. Gently redirect behaviors that cross boundaries and provide guidance on acceptable behavior. Do not allow children to play in a room alone with the door shut. And also keep in mind people that have 2-story or even 3-story houses, keep a check on them, okay? Because maybe if you're upstairs and they're downstairs, or you're downstairs and they're upstairs, it's just the same as like having a door shut. So just keep a close check on them. Keep in mind if the kids suddenly become quiet, you probably need to quickly check on them. Encourage open communication so children feel comfortable asking questions about their bodies. Answer their questions honestly and without shame. They need to be proud of their little bodies. By understanding and appropriately addressing normal childhood curiosity, parents and caregivers can help children develop a healthy understanding of their bodies and boundaries. I'm going to start on a comparison from normal versus concerning behavior in children. As I mentioned earlier, normal behaviors are typically mutual, consensual, and occur among children of similar age and developmental level. They do not involve secrecy, shame, or one child having power over the other child. Behaviors to be concerned about are behaviors that are persistent, involve coercion, or cause distress to another child. These could be signs of problematic or abusive behavior and should be addressed immediately. Part 2 of this Child on Child podcast will drop next Thursday. I will dive deeper into the concerning child on child behaviors, what to look out for, why they may be doing the behavior, and other information regarding a child offender. I'll tell you this, these offending children weren't born knowing how to act out on other kids. I really hope you'll join me next week as we dive into this topic. That'll wrap us up for today. Shoot me an email at csapreventionbyzina@gmail.com if you'd like additional information or have any questions. Visit our private Facebook group. Remember, whether you learn about child sexual abuse from me or someone else, please learn about it from somewhere. There are some very informative podcasts, blogs, and probably local education on the subject offered right in your community. Just check around. Please don't forget to take good care of you. Remember, you are important and you matter. And of course, thanks for looking out for all those cool kids, from babies, tweens, to teens. Looking forward to tossing some more information your way next week. Thanks for listening, and you have a super and safe weekend.
They don't give me say, I appreciate it.